What's up, guys, and welcome back to Tech Plant. I've officially ruined my giant pothos. Let's check it out. This is my giant pothos at present day December 2023. You can see compared to my body, this stuff is absolutely massive. However, all this massive progress has been completely derailed. I made some major mistakes and we're going to go over that and how to fix them. I'm going to show you the damage I've done, but first we need to take a trip down memory lane. And that takes us all the way back to July 2021. You can see this started out as just a small log that came all the way from Florida. Now, I often call this giant pothos, but this is literally just jade pothos. However, it has the pleasure of growing up a tree in Florida, which is what made a huge difference. Now, we can achieve these massive pothos here in our homes with a certain style of growing. Once I got this, I put it in a propagation bin, and you can see it clearly started to size up rather quickly. The important aspects were to get it climbing something early on. I did use some moss poles that I designed and printed just to try and simulate some sort of tree, and you can see each leaf time and time again got bigger and bigger, and we were keeping this thing very happy. A key way to know that your pothos is going to size up rather quickly is watching the smaller roots. So like a lot of aroids, especially Monstera and pothos, you'll see that there's one giant aerial root, and that one is usually near the node, like pretty much right by it. However, there is internodal roots, which are the ones that grip onto trees. These are quite different, and these are really what you want to see. They make a huge difference when a plant is sizing up because it really feels secure when it can grab on with those. As the years, and I mean literally years, have gone by, like I said, we are in December of 2023. We're at about 28 months, maybe a little longer than that. It's just been getting bigger and bigger, and I added more stuff to the moss pole to try and encourage it to keep climbing. However, I did not pay enough attention to how this thing was, and I let it get off to the side of the moss pole. This was sort of the start to the path to doom. However, it still maintained for quite some time because I did make it feel secure. Once I realized, though, that this wasn't going to end up as a success if I didn't do something quickly, I tried to jerry rig a nice plank all the way up the side to try and meet where this plant was headed. But then sadly I went on vacation shortly after, which is why it was a rush job, so it never really adhered very well. However, it still felt pretty secure, so you can see we even got fenestrations, which is insane. I never thought it would be capable of actually fenestrating in my household just because I thought we might need full sun, but really all it matters is that it feels secure and it gets good light, good water, and good fertilizer, and it will continue to get bigger. I know there was a lot of doubters back then in the very first few videos I made about this, saying it would never get fenestrated or just would stop getting bigger after a while, but we definitely proved them wrong with this journey, and again, it did take a long time, about 2 years, but we did get that fenestration. You can see it in my grow room setup here that it's getting pretty darn good light, but it's not getting the best, and it's starting to kind of be weird on the pole, and the pot it's in was just way too small. I want to say this was at about the exact 2-year mark when I decided to repot this thing, and it needed to be in a much larger bucket, something that could actually hold the weight of this plant. The problem I was having with the smaller buckets is it kept falling over, damaging leaves, and slowly detaching from the boards that I had attached it to. But this was pretty much the start of the downfall. The main issue with it is once I repotted it, the way the plant had grown over time, it was way too arched and was too far off the main plank, and I just never was able to get it to adhere well. And then just with busyness of life, I didn't really keep up on it, and I let it grow past the actual plank. And that brings us to present day, where you can really see the issues. When we look at the base of the current day plant, you can see where it used to adhere to the actual moss poles, and you can see a lot of those internodal roots, which really made a big difference, and it allowed it to blow up in size really quickly. However, you can see there's not much more after that. However, I did manage for the most part to make it feel secure by hooking it up to whatever I attached it to, and it may not have rooted into it, but it did feel like it was pressed up against it, and so it kept sizing up, and we were still doing good. And like I said, we even saw fenestrations. However, you could sort of see as I repotted it, it just never adhered well. And the crazy thing is you can really see the vine getting smaller and smaller. For the longest time, it was nice and thick and slowly getting bigger, but right towards the end here where you can see the major issue, this tiny little leaf, the actual vine is so skinny, it's probably half the size. It is actually crazy to me how quickly this thing really started to degrade once it fell off the main plank and did not feel secure. You can see how I can flop this thing like crazy, and that is really the big issue. Because it can wave around wildly, it does not feel secure, and so it's going to start going small again so it can crawl around on the ground, find the next tree to grow up, and then get big again. So we're going to try and fix this. I did make a video a while ago on how to start a plant on a moss pole or a plank, and it was really important that I stressed the fact that you really have to be conscious of your vertical space. So I really don't want to just attach this to this piece of wood because we're already like 2 to 3 feet up, and that leaves me with a very limited amount of vertical space for this to keep growing. So I really want to start this thing over. So what I'm going to do is pretty much air layer this, but against a plank. So I've cut the side of a pot open so I can really lay it in there and get some good roots in there, along with some soil mix that I usually use and a little bit of cocoa bark, I guess. I don't know what they call it. But I've got that all in there, and I'm going to tape it to this pole, and I'm going to try my newer plank design I've been testing out and putting it directly in the pot. Hopefully we can get this thing to root in this bucket and root to this new piece of plant, and once it does, I'm going to try and take an actual cutting and see what happens. So the moral of the story here is make sure your plants feel secure, because you can see once they flop around, they can revert really quickly and you can lose years of progress. Again, we are over 2 years of growth here on this channel with this exact plant, and it sucks to see how quickly it can get really small again. So really don't be lazy, guys, and make sure you're paying attention to what your plants do, because you can undo 2 years of progress really quickly. Well, guys, that pretty much sums up this video. I hope you got to see what happens when you let your plants dangle. They start to revert pretty darn quickly. So now at least we know firsthand that if it comes off the plank, reattaching it is necessary, and you must do it quickly in order to prevent that regression. So hopefully this little pot thing I got attached on there makes it feel secure. I can root it into there and then eventually take a cutting. I've done videos in the past how important it is to start plants low, so you got that vertical space and time to get really big. So maybe we'll have another update in 4 or 5 months here when it can really root in there and get going, and hopefully we see some bigger leaves. I hope you guys enjoyed this update, and as always, may your plants grow strong and healthy. I'll see you next time.